Have you ever been the only one in the room? The only black person? The only woman? The only just fill in the blank? Surrounded by people, yet feeling utterly alone. You scan the faces, looking for a connection, a sign that you belong, and your voice can be heard. I've often felt that isolation, especially in the world of technology, both physically and virtually. In a world that's often full of sea of faces that don't look like mine, it's where my voice feels silenced. Like your and my ideas don't matter. But I'm here to tell you that those ideas do matter. Because it's those same voices that are missing that need a more innovative and equitable future. That feeling of isolation, of being overlooked, it's a weight that many Black people carry in technology. And it's a weight that no amount of just making it work can be fully alleviated. That weight was heavy on my shoulders in 2013. As a technology coordinator, I was part of a team tasked with a critical mission to bring digital learning across the district's campuses. 20 members of the technology team were gathered in a dull gray room preparing to discuss this digital plan. But as I looked around the room, I noticed that there was a problem. Out of those 20 people, there were only 4 of us that were Black. Those cinder block walls were painted a sterile gray. There were stacked tables and towering chairs. When you entered this room, it felt like the room stifled creativity and enforced conformity. You also just felt a sense of resignation. This room, this feeling, it was a huge heavyweight. Have any of you felt that same weight in your life? Well, laughter helped. That awareness of being one of the few Black voices in the room just never faded. A familiar tension gripped me as I stood by myself to address a particularly challenging topic of our digital plan. I stood paralyzed as I stood in front of the room. That weight of expectations, of having to just represent more than just myself, of having to prove that my ideas matter just as much as everyone else's. But then, across the sea of faces, our eyes met. A silent acknowledgement, a shared understanding of those invisible hurdles that we faced exactly in that space. We knew the extra burden that we carried. We understood what it meant to just code switch, of having to constantly adjust the way we speak and the way we act, depending on who is in the room, and to constantly having to fight for a place at a table. That moment of connection, brief as it was, became a lifeline. A reminder that even in a room that was designed for conformity, we could find strength and resilience in our shared experience. It ignited a fire in me, a desire to dismantle the systems that created these inequities and build a future where those silent exchanges would not be necessary, and create a future where our voices, our Black voices, will be welcomed, valued, and amplified from the very start. This also ignited a fire in me to redesign these systems. Well, why stay in these organizations and in these spaces that could still feel so unwelcoming? I stay because I refuse to be silenced. I stay because I want to show the next generation that a future in technology and gaming is possible. I spent years in education technology, gaming and esports, and instructional design. I have collaborated with CEOs, superintendents, and even leaders making their technology spaces more innovative. According to my research, there's a meager 3 to 8% of the technology industry that comprises of just Black people. Now, this is in despite of Black contributors spending an estimated $50 billion in buying power in the technology sector. There's also a lack of representation of Black people in esports and gaming. This disparity is a problem that we need to address. We need to build a technology culture that reflects our community's diversity of thought, experience, and innovation. To create that culture, we have to start with the next generation. How do we inspire them? How do we show the young Black talent that their voices matter, that their ideas have power, and that their future in technology and gaming is not only possible, but essential? I've seen that possibility ignite in their eyes. When I watch technology conferences and gaming conferences with my own kids, we see people of color. They're women developers, designers, and game creators who look like them. When I walk onto campuses like this and other organizations, and I see students who look like me, and they ask me what I do, and I say it, their eyes light up. They see a path that they hadn't considered, a future they hadn't dared to dream. But far too often, that spark flickers, and they're left with only a few mentors who look like them. We cannot just tell them that the door is open. We must light the way. We must show them how to build a future where once again our voices are welcomed and celebrated. So how do we build that future? It starts with action. It starts with creating programs that ignite a passion for technology and gaming with young Black students and connecting them with role models who can help them see themselves as future leaders. It means creating pathways to success, internships, apprenticeships, and opportunities to create real-world experiences and gain skills in order for them to thrive in the real world. It also means creating these technology spaces where we are celebrating diversity, we are embracing different ways of thinking, and we are empowering all of our voices to be heard. Imagine workplaces where genuine dialogue and creative collaboration are the norm. This is how we bring everyone to the seat at the table, a table built on innovation, equity, and the boundless potential of all of our voices. To create this table, we have to move beyond those dull gray rooms and create spaces that inspire. Think about it. There are programs that are called Genius Hour, where students are empowered to create and do their passions, think outside the box, and create. These programs foster collaboration, communication, and they create environments where their ideas are valued. Now, what if we did this same thing in the technology and in the gaming industry? Let's call them Genius Labs, where diverse minds are empowered to explore, innovate, and to fail forward. Well, we're connecting seasoned professionals and young Black talent where they are nurturing their abilities and amplifying their voices. Black innovators have so much to offer. But to make all of these changes happen, we cannot just give the marginalized voices just a seat at the table. We have to empower the marginalized voices to lead these conversations and shape the industries. And I know there are technology organizations that have done just this. There are special technology communities and organizations that hold conferences annually that connect large companies with talented people of color who have often been overlooked by traditional hiring practices. But it's not just about getting hired. It's about nurturing that next Black talent. There are some organizations that foster a passion for young Black boys and girls, empowering them to be the next Black talents for innovation and future leaders. And of course, I cannot forget about the world of gaming. There are communities worldwide that are on the rise that support and celebrate Black gamers, creating spaces where they connect, learn, and thrive. These organizations and people are already proving that change is underway, but they cannot do this alone. They need our support. They need our investment. They need you. As an instructional designer, as a doctoral candidate, I've learned that designing for diversity is more than just adding diverse characters and storylines to games, or just checking off a checklist on the diversity checkbox. It means weaving those diverse perspectives, experiences, and needs into the very DNA of the technology and gaming world. This means creating games and technologies that are accessible and that engage people of all backgrounds, cultures, and communities. This is how we move from representation to true equity. Remember that heavyweight that I talked about earlier? That feeling of isolation, of having to work twice as hard to be heard and being silenced? We can change all of that. Together, we can build a new table of technology and gaming to where when every Black person or student enters the room, they feel seen, heard, and empowered to reach their full potential. The organizations and individuals that I mentioned earlier are already proving that this can happen. They're proving that diversity drives change. And they're also showing that everyone at a table can contribute. But once again, they cannot do this alone. So I'm going to challenge each and every one of you. Support those organizations and individuals. Mentor Black professionals. And if any of you have the power to hire, invest in Black excellence. This is how we build a future in the technology and gaming world, where our limits are the only limits that we imagine. Let's get started today.